History with Mr. D.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, you already know. I'm not here today. I know. And I didn't even tell you that I'm not here today. It's okay. It's not an emergency. Everything's fine. The music is getting louder. Starting to I can't control it. It's too loud. It was a bit of a editing mishap. I had to take a day today. I had to take Mom to an appointment, and well, you know, it's life. So, but actually, I'm being told that there's actually a breaking news press conference right now. I'm going to get you over there right now. So go ahead and take. Morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is. Just wanted to start today's press conference by giving you some pertinent Chicago Bears information. As you know, hanging in my classroom, I have the predictions for this season's outcomes. I was mocked and maligned and ridiculed at the beginning of the year for predicting that the Chicago Bears would go 11-6. When they started 0-2, a lot of people started doubting me. A lot of people had a lot of things to say, and that's okay. It's all part of the game. You know, we put ourselves out there to be judged and ridiculed, and you know that we're not going to let that get in the way of us having success. That said, we have reeled off an impressive 8 wins in 9 games, and we have won. As I look at the stat sheet here, we have won now 5 in a row. That's a 5-game winning streak. I will have you guys know that this week we play the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. That's a field where our quarterback, number 1, Caleb Williams, number 18, is undefeated currently as a Chicago Bear. And that's promising news for us. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there that I will predict the Chicago Bears win 24-21 in Lambeau Field this Sunday. I will now open it up to any questions, comments, and concerns. Oh yeah, that's right. This is virtual, so there's actually nobody in the room right now. You know what? Let's focus up. I got things to do. The droids you're looking for. That's what Obi-Wan Kenobi would say. Anyways, thanks for listening to my Bears rant here. I'm coming to you live here from the classroom with a beautiful binary sunset behind me there. It's Luke Skywalker's hut. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to do is help you prepare for your Constitution test that you are taking tomorrow. You have a review sheet that you have been working on very diligently here for, I don't know, say 15 to 20 minutes. I'd like to go over the answers with you now, okay? So get ready. Here we go. Number 1 is Sandra Day O'Connor. She was the first woman justice on the Supreme Court. Sandra Day O'Connor, that is the answer to number 1. Ready for number 2? You should know this one. 100, right? How many members are in the Senate? 100, of course. We have 50 states. Senate is based on equal representation, right? That was part of the Great Compromise. Equal representation means all 50 states send 2 senators to Washington, D.C. 50 times 2 is 100. Not that difficult. Number 3, we just did a quiz on this the other day, it feels like. What are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? Well, that, my friends, is the Bill of Rights. Remember, after they established the Constitution and all of its articles and all the facets of the U.S. government, they purposely set aside 10 individual amendments where they guaranteed individual rights, right? Among these are freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to a speedy, free public trial, eminent domain clause, due process, double jeopardy clause, no illegal searches and seizures, and of course, I think the most important is the 10th Amendment, the one that says just because rights are not mentioned does not mean you don't have them. Rights not mentioned are up to the states. That, my friends, is federalism. Moving on to the next question here. How long is the president's term in office? 4 years. Presidents serve a 4-year term. They can be elected twice, but they cannot be elected more than twice, right? So you can only serve 2 4-year terms when elected president. There's a few fun facts up there. Number one, we got the best sideburns in White House history. That is Van Buren right there. We also have a father and son combo here. That's John Adams and John Quincy Adams. Of course, right behind me, that's George W. Bush right there. His son, actually, that's George H.W. Bush. His son, George W. Bush, made these two the other father-son pair. That is the late Jimmy Carter, just recently passed away. Over here is Gerald R. Ford, and the only president to ever be stuck in a bathtub, William Howard Taft. You can't make this stuff up. This is true. Moving on. Number 5, of course, the question is the division of powers between the national government and the states is a federal system. All right, federal system, federalism, sharing of powers between state and federal government. We talked about that earlier where we said that the states are like individual laboratories of democracy. You got the big government in D.C., and then you got the mini governments in the states. Governors are sort of like presidents of the states. They've got their own Supreme Court. They got their own House of Representatives. They got their own Senate. But then in D.C., they've got the big government, right? The president, the Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives, and the Supreme Court. This is also a list of countries that also have the federal system of government. And look at that. See, I'll get out of the way so you can see them.
Oh.
And moving right back on in here, look at that. We got examples. I got a word, the republic there. Well, that, my friends, is number 6. A government in which citizens rule through elected representatives is called a republic. It's also known as a representative democracy. But we live in a republic, ladies and gentlemen. It kind of triggers me when people say America is a democracy, and it's like, that's like half true, right? That's more so like the House of Representatives. Again, coming back to the Great Compromise, where the House of Representatives is based on population, where the direct democracy aspect is being implemented there, but like really it's, it's 435 members in the House, there's 100 in the Senate. The Senate's more equal representation. House of Representatives more direct democracy. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're all obsessed with laws, right? Remember, we got the executive branch, they enforce the laws. We got the legislative branch, they make the laws. We got the Supreme Court, they interpret the laws. All 3 branches are obsessed with laws. Why are they obsessed with laws? Because we are a republic, a government based on the rule of law. Speaking of those 3 branches of government that I was just talking about, right, based on the rule of law, what keeps any one branch of government from gaining too much power? That's the system of checks and balances, right? They're all like little watchdogs out there, right? If the Supreme Court sees that a law is unconstitutional and it gets brought to their attention, they can strike it down and say that law is invalid. It is unconstitutional. They have that power through judicial review. The president can veto a bill before it becomes a law. Congress can override a president's and veto. They can impeach. They can appoint. It's all checks and balances, right? It's all working together. Yeah, it's a good system. All right, don't knock it until you try it. I just mentioned that word too, veto, right? I just mentioned veto. So the president, number eight, the president can check Congress through a veto, right? I'm going to stop doing that now. Okay, moving on. Number nine, which constitutional amendment gave women the right to vote? That would be the 19th Amendment. That's right, Princess Leia. That's right. Now, you may not know this, but Miss Susan B. Anthony. I am a relative of hers. Yeah, Susan B. Anthony is actually I can't say I'm a descendant, right, because she's like a cousin of my great-grandfather, and the B in her middle name stands for Brownell, and Brownell is my grandmother's last name, but you can fact-check me on that. It's true. Susan B. Anthony fought in the women's suffrage movement, right? Not fought like in a battle, but like fought in cases and law and protest, right? And women gained the right to vote with the 19th Amendment, right? And just recently, that was the 100-year anniversary came around for that. So women have been voting in America for just over 100 years. Glad to have you on board, ladies. Now for amendment, ow, gosh, dude, why are you slinging the gavel like that? Ow. For an amendment to be ratified, it must be approved by what fraction of the states? Three-fourths. This guy's he's got a gavel. 3/4. It takes 3/4 of the states for an amendment to be ratified. This guy, he needs somebody to take that from him. All right, this is better. Now for this next question, there are no term limits for No term limits for senators and state representatives, right? We limit the terms of the president of the United States. He can only be elected twice, man or female, right? But in the Senate and the House, you get reelected for the rest of your life. There are no term limits. There could be some drawbacks to that, right? So think about that one, right? No term limits in Congress. Interesting. Let's go to the lightning round now, shall we? Lightning round number 12 here. Examples of these powers shared by Congress and the states are raising taxes and borrowing money. That is concurrent powers. Shared powers. Concurrent. Shared. Number 13, examples of these powers belonging to the states in establishing schools or in passing marriage laws are known as reserved. Powers reserved to the states. Number 14, examples of these powers of Congress are coining money and maintaining the armed forces. Those are the enumerated powers. The enumerated powers of Congress. The main role of this branch is to interpret the laws, that is, the judicial branch. I gotta update this picture. Number 16, the main role of this branch is to pass laws. It's made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. This branch is known as the legislative branch. The main role of this branch is to enforce the laws. This, of course, is the executive branch. Season's greetings from the Deckers. Look at that. That's our White House greeting card. See us? It's Amanda and me. I shaved. It's me with a shave, right? That's me. I don't have a beard there. But that's us. Isn't that a nice White House portrait? Yeah, I think that could be nice. All right. Which of the following rights is not included in the First Amendment? Jury trial. Yep, that's the one. That's the one out of those choices that's not in that amendment. I cut myself off there. Are you still paying attention? You got to... all right? Hey! Thank you. Lock in, all right? The meaning of the Second Amendment has often been debated in regard to which issue? The right of citizens to own firearms. That would be D. Great quote by Thomas Jefferson here. The strongest reason for the people to retain their right to keep and bear arms as a last resort to protect themselves against tyranny and government. Man. What is the purpose, in number 20, of the 9th and 10th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution? Well, you could have put something like, to allow debate for and protection of rights not mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all, folks. That's all I got for you, really, on those slides. Actually, you know what? There's one more thing. One more thing. This, right? What is this? This very poorly pixelated chart at the end of the assignment. Some of you might have guessed on it and just filled out some random things. Some of you might have just skipped it and like, if I skip it and pretend it's not there, maybe he won't grade it. Well, let's talk about what you needed to do for these, right? For the executive branch, you got 3 boxes underneath there. What I'm looking for, all right, is a definition. Okay, so the executive branch enforces laws. All right, what would be a special power of the executive branch? Well, they can appoint judges, they can issue executive orders. Executive orders are interesting because it's like a workaround for a president. If they feel like they can't get something done in Congress, a president can issue an executive order, and that has the power of law, right? An executive order is law. However, the workaround there only lasts until the president leaves office. So an executive order only lasts for the duration of that president's term. And it's up to the next president if they want to continue it or cancel it. All right, so enforce laws. Special powers are executive orders or appointing judges. And then last, what's a check? Well, they can veto an act of Congress. And then you do the same thing for the legislative branch, right? Their main role is they make laws. Special powers that Congress has, well, they can coin money. They can declare war. They can issue taxes. Did I say that already? I don't think I did. All right. And then a check that they have, well, they can impeach. They can bring charges up on an elected official. They can override a presidential veto. They can even ratify an amendment to the Constitution. Some special powers there. The judicial branch, they interpret the laws. A special power that they have would be they can declare a law unconstitutional, and they do this through the process of judicial review. You know, another thing you could put about the Supreme Court is that they have lifetime appointments. Once you are appointed to the Supreme Court, you see, you get picked by the president, and then the Senate confirms you, and then once you make it to the Supreme Court, you're there for life, or until you retire, right? So you die or retire. No term limits at all. All right. Well, I think we've done it. Thanks for paying attention today. I will be back tomorrow, and we will take our Constitution test. All right. This review sheet will get you pretty well prepared, though. Okay. So study it. Be good, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.